Imagine this. You're on vacation in New York City, you're hungry, you walk into a taco spot, order some food, and add a generous amount of salsa. A short while later, you decide to sue the restaurant for $100,000 because the sauce was too spicy. It sounds ridiculous, almost like a joke, but this actually happened. A German tourist named Faikal Mans visited New York, like millions of others do every year. He was there to experience the city, the culture, and of course, the food. At one point during his trip, he stopped by a taco restaurant and ordered 3 tacos. Nothing unusual about that, just a regular meal in one of the most famous cities in the world. But then came the moment that would eventually lead to a lawsuit. He reached for the salsa, not just a small amount, not just a cautious taste. He added a generous portion of it to his tacos. This was not something the staff forced on him. There was no misunderstanding in the order. He chose to take the salsa himself and put it on his food. And that decision changed everything. After eating the tacos, he started experiencing a range of physical symptoms. According to his claim, it was not just mild discomfort. He described serious reactions. He said his tongue and mouth felt burned, and he even developed blisters. On top of that, he reported a rapid heartbeat, nausea, acid reflux, cramps, and diarrhea. For him, this was not just a case of, that was a bit too spicy. He believed something had gone seriously wrong. So, instead of brushing it off or moving on, he took it to the next level. He filed a lawsuit. Not for a small amount, not for a refund or an apology, but for $100,000 in damages. He argued that he had not been properly warned about how spicy the salsa was. He said he did not know how intense it could be, and that the restaurant should have informed him. From his perspective, the restaurant had a responsibility to make sure customers understood the risks. But there was one detail that made the situation much more complicated. He had added the salsa himself. No one told him to, no one pressured him, no one even suggested he should take more. He made that choice on his own, and yet, he still held the restaurant responsible for what happened afterward. There was another layer to the story as well. He stated that he has a long history of digestive and stomach issues. He claimed that he is particularly sensitive to certain foods, including spicy ingredients. In his view, this made the situation even more severe and justified his reaction. But that detail would eventually work against him. When the case reached the court, the judge took a close look at everything: the claim, the symptoms, the circumstances, and the choices that were made, and the decision was clear. The lawsuit was dismissed. The judge ruled that a reasonable person would understand that salsa can be spicy. It is not a hidden risk. It is not an unknown danger. It is common knowledge, especially in the context of tacos, where spicy sauces are a standard part of the experience. The judge also pointed out that he could have noticed the heat after the first bite. He could have stopped eating. He could have asked the staff about the ingredients or the level of spiciness. There were multiple opportunities to avoid the situation from escalating, but he didn't take them. Instead, he continued and then blamed the restaurant afterward. In the court's view, the responsibility didn't lie with the business. It lay with the individual who made the decision to use the salsa in the first place. The ruling made it clear: the spiciness of salsa is not a defect, it's the point. And with that, the claim for $100,000 was rejected entirely. But as strange as this case sounds, it doesn't end there. Because this wasn't the only lawsuit Faikal Mans filed during his trip. At the same time, he launched 2 other legal claims, and they were even bigger. In one case, he sued a Walmart store in New Jersey. His complaint was that he felt discriminated against because he needed an American phone number to access the store's Wi-Fi. He argued that this requirement unfairly excluded him as a foreign visitor. And his demand? $10 million. That is 100 times more than the taco lawsuit. But just like the first case, this claim didn't succeed. It was also dismissed. Then there was a third case. This time, It involved the New York Police Department. He claimed that the police did not handle his report properly after he said he had been robbed on the street. Once again, he sought a massive payout, another $10 million. However, this case never reached a final decision because he eventually withdrew it himself. When you look at all three cases together, it raises some interesting questions. Was this just a series of unfortunate experiences during a trip, or was it something more? At its core, the taco lawsuit is not really about spicy food. It is about responsibility. It is about where the line is drawn between personal choice and someone else's obligation. Everyone has had a moment where food was too spicy. It happens all the time. You take a bite, your mouth starts burning, and you immediately regret your decision. Maybe you drink some water, maybe you grab something to cool it down, and you move on. But this situation went much further. Instead of accepting it as part of the experience, it turned into a legal battle. And ultimately, the court decided that there was a limit to what businesses can be held accountable for. If something is widely understood, like the fact that salsa can be spicy, then it is not reasonable to expect a warning for every possible reaction, especially when the customer is the one making the choice. The judge's reasoning reflects a broader principle. Not every negative experience is grounds for a lawsuit. Sometimes, it really does come down to personal responsibility. And that is what makes this story so fascinating. On the surface, it sounds almost unbelievable, a man suing over spicy tacos. But underneath that, it touches on something much deeper, how we deal with discomfort, how we assign blame, and how far people are willing to go when something does not go their way. So the next time you are traveling, exploring new foods, and trying something different, just remember this story. Adding a little too much sauce might not just leave you with a burning mouth. It might also leave you with a lesson you won't forget.